The COVID stuff came on strong right around GDC in March of this year. We decided as a team not to go to GDC just a couple days before they canceled it. Pretty quickly it ramped up, and so we made the decision to take our computers all home and work from home. It's been a big adjustment. The team works mostly in a large bullpen at the office, so we're all kind of in yelling space of each other, and so communication is constant. It's easy to grab anybody into any combination of conversations. You've got the animator with the engineers and the sound guy. Like everybody can quickly, immediately assemble and communicate. And losing that has been a big challenge for us. It's been a big change to our workflow. The team has really rallied. We're still in constant communication. We have a stand-up every morning. Even with tough deadlines and a real kind of shift in our working processes, we've still managed to stay mostly on target. And we're a little slower, and definitely we've had some challenges in terms of just communication and stuff like that, but it could be a lot worse. And this will be a memorable time. It's a very interesting time to be at this critical juncture on a large project like this. It's almost, it's been over 3 years now. And so kind of tying it together remotely is a very unique added challenge for sure. This is at its core a survival adventure game. It's a game about a person's journey through kind of a very vast, wild landscape. A lot of danger, a lot of beauty. It's a very somber game. It's kind of different than what we do at 17-bit normally. We're known for kind of cartoony, goofy, fun stuff. This game is a very different direction, but it's been a fantastic project. It's really, when I first experienced VR, I was immediately completely floored. I mean, I was in tears almost at how incredible the experience is. I mean, it's not a game anymore. It's a world that you are inside of. And when I started thinking about what I would like to do, I thought about creating a world. I mean, creating a living, breathing world, which you hear all the time, but for the first time, it wouldn't be just a game. You would be in this world. And if we could make the rules of the world simple enough, you could survive virtually in this world. And I wanted to populate that world with living creatures that lived and behaved and acted like real wild animals. I want these animals to have reactions. I want them to feel fear, to be afraid, hungry, tired, nervous. And I wanted to make a world that was completely interlocked and completely interbreathing. The deer are hungry and they're looking for food, and they're nervous and they're startled by sounds. If they see you from a distance, nothing is canned in this game. Like everything is a kind of a dice roll, or driven by the AI to be like, okay, if he sees you at a distance and he's well fed, he's maybe not that nervous. He's going to watch you for a while before he gets spooked. If you run after him or start coming at him, at some point he's going to react realistically and he's going to run away. So everything in this world is meant to be alive. I mean, I was watching my children play chasing fish at the ocean in this little kind of pond, and they had a net. And just them running around chasing after these animals was incredibly engaging to them. And I was like, this doesn't have to be crazy high levels of artificial intelligence. It just has to act realistically and be sort of alive. And so this idea, I spent a lot of time hiking in the mountains of Kyoto here and other places too, but Kyoto is a very, obviously special to me. I live here. We spend a lot of time in the woods. And just walking in the woods and, the little subtle touches, it's something that you can do so much more effectively in VR than you can in a flat screen game, the little window into the game. When you're in the world, the spatial audio, birds taking off, and you hear a branch break and you're like, something broke that. Was it large? Was it small? Is it something dangerous? This is a dangerous world, and so you spend a lot of time just exploring and living and certainly foraging for food and building camps and hunting. And so any small sound cue like that becomes very potentially important. It's either danger or it's something for you to eat, and kind of hunt. And so the whole game has sort of become this just what we think of as a perfect sort of virtual experience. It's a self-contained world that has rules and laws, and you can go into this world and you can sort of make your own way and survive. And that's the whole high concept. I love the outdoors. I love deep nature. You know, Japan's nature is sort of split into two kinds. You've got the new modern forests that were all farmed for cedar, and they're very boring, dull. And then you have the old growth stuff, which is just moss-covered rocks and all kinds of beautiful trees, gnarly, weird trees on these steep hills. Every tree has its own kind of story. Every tree is like weird and kind of adapting to the atmosphere, you know, to the weird angles and barely holding onto the rocks. And so I love spending time in these old growth forests here. And you know, when you hike with your friends, you kind of space out and you're not really paying attention to the world in the same way. You're talking and you're, you know, enjoying the camaraderie. But when you hike by yourself, your senses are much more heightened. And I think, you know, humans are animals, and we have this, you know, very sort of primal reaction to natural cues in the environment. And so I've become really aware and conscious of my own sort of personal reactions to these sounds and these influences and how it feels. When dusk comes on and those certain sort of late night cicadas come on that are kind of signaling it's going to get dark soon, there's a primal instinct to want to go home and to get back to safety and to get out of the darkness. And that's something we really wanted to play up. We really wanted to kind of grab those natural cues and bring them into this world. Like the sun's going down, the tone of the world kind of starts to slow down, different kind of, you know, the frogs and the crickets and stuff start coming on, but these cicadas. And this kind of sense of tension, where like we went with a much redder kind of evening light that just feels like, hey man, it's getting dark. It's a problem. You need to get back to safety. You need to get back home. And so this whole game is really about this sort of day-night cycle of utilizing your time. When it's light and you've got a lot of visibility and you can see clearly, you should be out hunting and doing the things that you need to do during the day. And at night, you know, it's not a good idea to be out in the dark when you're a primitive man. So focus on building your fire, focus on building your camp up, focus on resupplying your stock of arrows and weapons, drying meats, drying mushrooms, stuff like this to kind of prepare for the adventure. So we're hoping that this is one of the first games that people can really take their time with and really kind of get lost in the world. You know, there's no time pressure. It's not an open world, but they're fairly large, smaller worlds. And it's very free form and sort of time independent. So I'm expecting players to be able to kind of really enjoy the beautiful landscapes, these primitive giant forests we've built, and really sort of lose themselves in just this, enjoying this virtual garden, this virtual jungle that we've created. The game has a lot of new concepts and mechanics that we are having a big job of explaining to the players and getting them ramped up on. But once you have these basic systems understood, you can really engage with this world kind of any way you want. It allows for all kinds of gameplay, and we're expecting players to have a really strong emotional response to this kind of beautiful, somber world. I mean, it's a brutal world, but it's a very beautiful, brutal world, and we're hoping that people will want to go back to it again and again and just spend time there, because it is such a beautiful space to hang out in with this tension of you could be eaten at any moment.